Welcome to another episode of Sports Vibe. Arnav Sarkar here with Jitesh Ramakrishnan and Kapil Nathan. We've got a busy week of sports to bring you guys, as always. Recapping all the action from another busy week in the NFL, as well as the NFL trade deadline, which was earlier today, came and went with a few big moves. Notably some Washington Commanders switching teams, and then James Harden got traded to the Clippers. So we could talk about all of that on this episode. So yeah, I mean, where do you guys want to start? You guys want to start the
Get
trade stuff?
started.
Let's
Let's get
talk. Let's
started.
start with Josh Harris first because Josh Harris
Yeah.
owns both Washington and Philadelphia.
Oh,
So
that's
let's
true.
talk
Yeah.
Washington first, and then we'll move into the dumpster fire that's known as the Philadelphia 76ers.
Yeah. So a lot of big news today from the Washington Commanders. Dealing two good pass rushers. I mean, like they're not elite by any means, but they are good. And they spent a lot of draft capital to get those guys. Montez Sweat, who is now headed to Chicago for a second round pick, which is probably going to be around 30 to 35 range. I think we can pretty easily say that at this point in time. Chase
It's
Young,
almost essentially a late first round pick
it's
if you think about
essentially a
it.
late first round, and that's not, especially considering where they drafted him, it's not that much of a downgrade. So fantastic job by the Commanders. The Bears are, questionably dealing their second
No,
round picks as of late.
but here's the difference though. Montez Sweat is at least worth a second round pick. Chase
Mhm.
Claypool is maybe worth a second round pick in like I don't know 2300
2020,
when none of us are alive.
2020, 2020. He was probably worth
No,
that.
no 2300.
Yeah, but what I will say, and for Chase Young, man, like you're giving up I think it's the 100th pick or whatever for him. So that is great value by San Fran and Washington. I mean, like they're gonna fire Ron Rivera. It's all over the news. His days are going down. I think Bieniemy would fit in well as a head coach there with what he's been doing. Might not be the best offensive coordinator in the world, but he is doing pretty well, and I will say that. That's going to be interesting how this offseason plays out. There's 9 more weeks left in the season. They're what, 2-6 or something, 2-5 right now. Nobody wants to be here, but the Commanders are. Their draft pick didn't hit this year. Emmanuel Forbes, he was benched, then made inactive, and now when he was made active on Sunday, he got torched. Not a good look. So I think this is the time where Josh Harris is handing it over to Bieniemy. So good for them. Other than that, not a lot of Russell Douglas trade. Douglas, he's not
To
going
Buffalo, right?
to Buffalo. Him and a fifth for a three, which is
And speaking of Buffalo, apparently Leonard Fournette has
yeah.
signed a deal with them.
Yeah. So I mean, like they had to get it back with Damian Harris being, on IR for a while. But this Russell Douglas trade, it's interesting. They did lose Trey White. A three, sure you're getting him. You're also, you're also getting a fifth, but you're giving up a third rounder, which is interesting to say the least. I mean, like typically, I mean, like Russell Douglas, he's not, the best corner in the world, but he's serviceable, and I don't think that just nets a third round pick. I mean, like a fourth round pick would have probably been okay. But like teams deal those all the time. So that's
But
cool.
we see this when teams think that they're in like a championship level push. I mean, obviously we
Mhm.
all know the
Yeah.
truth. Buffalo will never win a championship. Well, the Bills at
Mhm.
least. Um,
Yeah.
but when teams are in that championship threshold push, the picks don't really matter all that much to them, and especially when you have a window
Mhm.
that stays open consistently. So like
Fair. But I mean, like, I just think, I mean, like, I agree with that. I just think it's just a three was just a little too high. I think they could have just, done a fourth, considered it that.
probably, but I guess I guess the thing I don't understand is why Chicago is trading for Montez Sweat, but it's like actually,
Right.
come to think of it, there are a few good reasons. Now reflecting, one, going to the season, Chicago has by far the most cap space out of any team. They have like over $100 million, so uh, that's quite a lot of money. And second, again, you're adding more towards the defense, and three, you have two first round picks this year. I mean, courtesy of Carolina. So it's like, splurging on a second for Montez Sweat. Um, I mean, that already suggests to me that they're going to give him a contract as part of like that real
I
estate
think
of
so. I think so too.
I mean, otherwise, why the hell would you trade a second for him? And like
Von Miller. Von Miller. Oh, sorry, did I cough? Sorry about that. Cold day.
no, hope you feel better. But yeah, so like those are my reasons, and of course, like if you can potentially Chicago practically owns the first two picks, so it's like you're almost guaranteed to get Caleb Williams, but then again, Caleb has kind of looked like trash against good teams, so that might be a bit of a red flag right there.
Well, let's focus on the trade deadline.
Right.
So another thing I saw, Donovan Peoples-Jones, he's headed back to Michigan. That's okay, man. Like it's an expiring deal, obviously. Nothing, that much.
You can never have too much depth. Like you
can never have too much depth.
You win championships not with star power, but with depth. That's how the Golden State Warriors lost the finals because they relied too much on star power.
Yeah, let's talk about a big depth piece that was traded today. Chase Young, a three. That's for a name as notable as him. I mean, you'd like to think they'd extend him, but I don't think they can with just all the cap space and all the things that they have to do.
John Lynch fleeced that deal.
He fleeced it, but at the same time, right? I don't think he has any intentions of extending him. I think this is just a win or done year for that team. They can maybe extend him like 1 year, 2 years at max with like ultra cheap money. But if Shanahan doesn't get it done this year, he probably won't ever get it done. I'll tell you that.
Well, it's in Kyle Shanahan's nature to never get it done. But I mean, come on, we've seen it over several years now. But I mean, I'm not saying I don't want him to win. I'd like to see it, but
he just hasn't shown it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about another big trade, and this one is very much pun intended. Leonard Williams, Giants fan favorite, dealt to Seattle for a second and a fifth. And this is an interesting deal. Seattle is right. Well, they're on the top of the NFC West after Sunday's game. So
and after Joe Burrow ate the 49ers alive.
Yeah, but I will say this: that's a sneaky good deal. I think Seattle might have given up just a tad too much. I mean, like I think a 3 and a 4 or something would have maybe done the deal, but
I don't know because the Giants and this might be one of the few times where I don't take a jab at the Giants. Like if there's one thing you can trust the Giants on, it's developing defensive players. Like aside from like Eli Apple or whatever, but
DeAndre Baker.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Arnav doesn't want to talk about that.
No, I'm good. But yeah, you're right about that point though.
But listen, the Giants like over the past two decades, like it started from Coughlin. Unfortunately, it started from Parcells. Really, like the Giants have been pretty damn good at like developing defense, especially when it comes to the lines. And of course, Leonard Williams traded to the Giants. Poor guy had to all the way to switch locker rooms in MetLife Stadium, such a long distance. But like we've seen over countless years how the Giants. Yeah, we've seen over countless years like the Giants' defensive ends, like that's a really steady position. It's almost like how you can trust Alabama with wide receivers. So like we've seen it like Justin Tuck, like he was pretty damn good. Michael Strahan also really damn good. Like come on, like so. Do I have confidence that the Giants can replace Leonard Williams in the draft? Potentially,
yes. And let's talk about Seattle's fit and Leonard Williams. I think, I mean, like there are just some teams in the league that do not have that, that one interior pass rusher they can count on, and Seattle is definitely one of them. Like those interior pass rushers that can win one-on-one, and those are the teams with great defenses. So Seattle wasn't one of those teams necessarily coming in. They lost Uchenna Nwosu, who's been playing, good football to a pec injury for the year, and I think that's what kind of precipitated this trade. I think it's a good fit for Leonard Williams. I mean, like the scheme, it's Pete Carroll's old scheme. So he'll fit into it, I'm pretty sure. I think it'll just be a while before we start seeing the actual numbers that they traded a 2 and a 5 for. So that was interesting. Let's talk about Kevin Byard though, to
that was
to
crazy
Philly,
deal. Yeah.
which we should prompt the Titans to
Definitely a
immediately.
deal.
Yeah, I'm not sure why the Titans still have Philly on. They still think it's a Cold War.
They should just
they
like
think
delete their
still have a
number
hotline.
because this is
Yeah,
like the second
but
bad trade.
yeah. I will say this, Kevin Byard, like the fit is great. They don't have that, enforcer. They haven't had that
Yeah,
enforcer at safety in a
just
long time.
just wait.
They're
Kevin
Yeah.
like
Byard is going to turn into prime Brian
Brian
Dawkins.
Dawkins, and that's
Um,
the worst. Like sure, Reed Blankenship's coming along very nicely. Had a big pick on Sunday. Sidney Brown you drafted. You
mhm.
kind of should have extended. But I think this is probably in response to not extending C.J. Gardner Johnson. But they wanted
Right.
to extend in the first place. Remember, they gave him 12 million. He said no. Then he comes back to the table like we don't have anything for you. Goodbye. So this is implicit. I think it's a cause of that. That's a direct cause or indirect cause.
And that's who Byard restructured his
Yeah.
contract. Like Philly
Yes.
freed up like 700,000 or something like that.
Well, I mean that's not even though that's not a lot in the grand scheme of things. It might be helpful later on. I mean,
But like Byard's willingness to restructure.
yeah,
That's going to
in
put a
Philly,
huge.
yeah, I mean, like that's interesting. I'll say that. So let's talk about well, I mean, like there weren't many other notable trades. I mean, like Grady Jarrett, that's a big loss for the Falcons. So they go out, they get one of the Eagles pass rushers who that's on a cheap deal. So obviously you're not going to see
While we're
much.
talking about out for seasons, let's talk about the Vikings
Kirk
trading
Cousins,
for
Yeah,
Josh
the
Josh
Josh
Dobbs.
Dobbs.
Dobbs trade.
And
That was too
interesting,
big.
I saw a
I
lot
feel
of
so bad for Kirk. Like
I
he
know,
was
me too.
top 10
Mhm.
balling. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I don't really think he had an MVP case, but like he could
He's
have
having a
maybe
good year.
I mean,
gotten a
even
couple votes.
without Jefferson, he was also playing really good football. I mean, like, it's just unfortunate. I
That
like him,
Yeah.
ever since quarterback came out, right? I've,
Me too.
completely
I've grown
shifted.
like
I think,
so much more for respect for Kirk Cousins
yeah,
and a
exactly.
liking to him after watching
I
this
really
year.
like him. I hope, I mean, like that probably is his last game in a Vikings uniform.
No,
It came,
forget about that. This career maybe because
yeah,
I mean,
maybe.
because
Yeah.
he's what 35. This is his contract year. I mean, of course,
Mhm.
Kirk Cousins has played exceptionally well, but this
In
is
Minnesota,
an
yeah,
Achilles injury,
at his
an
age,
Achilles tear, I
yeah.
should say. 35 contract year, and this isn't just about Kirk. Where did the Vikings as a franchise go from here? Because Josh Dobbs
Yeah.
is not the. I mean, Josh Dobbs is a temporary answer. Like
Right.
And I mean, like
he's like a round peg
they're,
in a square role. So it's like,
yeah.
and also like
There
Justin
were
Jefferson
okay.
contract year. So
Yeah,
like, where do they go?
yeah. In my opinion, I think they probably like their schedule seems very favorable. I know there's not a lot of starting quarterbacks out there on the market. I mean, there never is this time of year. I think one player that they might have kind of should have called is Jameis Winston, who's he's
Mm,
I
Hmm.
mean like
It's interesting.
he gives you the best chance to win out of any of the quarterbacks like
um,
that are available really.
no. I would have said Jacoby Brissett.
Oh, Brissett too, but
What's
yeah,
that? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's it. Yeah, him too. I'm astonished. He wasn't dealt, a team that needs a quarterback. I mean,
Yeah,
like
I was
that's,
originally going to say Gardner Minshew, but then I
but
remembered he's the starting
yeah,
quarterback for Indiana while Anthony Richardson
yeah.
is out. So
So, Jameis Winston or Jacoby Brissett, either one of those would have been, more than capable options. Sure, it'll take a time for them to, get the playbook, that'll be, that process of incorporation isn't going to be easy for them, but they give you a better chance to win than Josh Dobbs, who hasn't really, I mean, like, there's a reason he was traded. We'll say that. And, I mean, like, he just got benched.
that's you
Yeah.
for what, a sixth or seventh?
Yeah, and he just got benched, and Arizona just moved on from him, just like really quickly. So, I he beat Dallas. I'll be forever grateful for that. But I think
Oh,
Yeah.
like the
wait,
yeah
Dallas.
yeah
Why not pick up the phone and like Jerry Jones only traded a fourth round for Trey Lance.
yeah. I was surprised. I mean, like I still think they do have a need at defensive tackle. I mean, like I just, DeMarcus Lawrence, sure, he's playing great football, but I just don't, see another player than him, on the roster that can win one-on-one consistently in, those situations. So, I think he probably
I
kind
mean,
of should
that
have
that
called.
doesn't really matter apparently to Dallas when Deron Bland is balling out as a corner.
Yeah. No, that's a fair point. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting with the Cowboys and Trey Lance. I mean, that would have probably been like something you can get on like a cheap deal. But
And
Yeah.
come on, this is trade deadline day. So many quarterbacks went down injured. Any one of them could have easily gone like, "Hey Jerry, give us Trey Lance. Oh yeah, sell me your soul first. Deal." It could
Yeah.
have happened. It could have happened.
That's it. Yeah.
And
I
besides,
think
Trey Lance deserves the minimal chance to at least showcase himself. He played for like 16 seconds in San Francisco, and unfortunately got hurt and never got a chance to reclaim a starting job. And then he gets traded to be the quarterback behind Dak, and we know Dak
yeah.
isn't going anywhere, even though this is
Yeah.
his contract year. Like, come on, Trey Lance, like
Mhm.
he deserves a chance to play, and also like
Mhm. Yeah.
we haven't really seen him. Like we're calling the
Yeah.
deal a bust
Mhm.
when we haven't even seen him play. You
Yeah.
can only call the deal a bust when the
Mhm.
player sucks. We
Yeah.
can't say Trey Lance sucks because we haven't seen him play. It's like it was like us calling. I mean, of course, like similar towards the Rogers Jordan Love situation. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
of course, I
mm,
was clowning on the Packers for the longest time, having Jordan Love for 3 years holding Aaron Rodgers' clipboard when you basically drafted him for first. But the Packers could have really seen something in him. And of course, for the first 3 games of this season, Jordan Love looked good. Of course, he's gone down the mountain,
And
but
I think
still.
that, yeah, that's definitely something we have to talk about other than later.
Yeah, yeah. But the question is if that's a continuing trend, that remains to be seen. But the point I'm trying to say is we can't say a player definitively sucks unless if we've seen proof that they cannot play the game. So like, I mean, can we say Jordan Love sucks now? Because I mean, we have a sample size of 8 games. Yeah, I mean, we could say that he's not exactly that great, sure, but at least we saw him play. Trey Lance has yet to even play like 5 minutes of football, 5 minutes of professional football. So I'm not sure why anyone did not pick up the phone on Trey Lance. Like, what's the worst that could happen when your starting quarterback is already injured for the season? Give the kid a chance. That's what I would have thought.
yeah. No, I think that's a fair point. And I guess coincidentally with the big day of NFL trades on the NFL trade deadline, we got one of the biggest NBA trades of the offseason, I guess, or
And
now it's the
also
regular
who
season. But James Harden
also
is
happens to
officially
share
a
the same
Clipper.
owner, Josh Harris.
Yep. So yeah, let's talk about that a little bit.
All right,
I guess the whole
let's
drama
say
is
this.
over.
The Philadelphia 76ers, and I'm saying this as a rival fan, the Philadelphia 76ers won this trade.
They're better
When
off. Yeah.
no, when you get rid of a toxic, whiny malcontent, you automatically win the trade.
Mhm.
It's like when the Steelers had traded away Antonio Brown to the Raiders. You won the trade right there. It doesn't matter you only got like a
Right.
third of the fifth for AB. You traded that cancer away where he didn't even play a snap for the Raiders. So
Yeah.
like
Plus, they got a haul. The Sixers got 4 players. They got 5 picks. I mean, they got like a lot.
well, come
A
on.
lot
But
of a
The
lot for
picks
what they
don't mean
traded
anything
away
in
too.
basketball.
Yeah, but I will say this, it's a lot of, a lot of good bench players, that's a
Hmm.
lot of backup for the Sixers. And, I
Right.
think this move, I will say it seemed inevitable,
No,
ever since,
I give the Clippers a C minus on this, and I give the 76ers a B. Like,
yeah.
because the Clippers, what you have this cyborg who plays 12 games a year. Then you have this overrated choke artist who disappears like Harry Houdini the second round, and then you have Paul George. You're not winning.
Mhm.
Yeah. This is gonna blow up just like it has in all the other teams James Harden was with recently
Yeah,
with the
and
same
then
thing with the Nets and the
and then
Sixers gonna happen here.
what are we gonna see? We're gonna see what? July 1st, 2024, breaking news: James Harden demands a trade out of the Clippers.
Yeah.
Says he's unhappy with the organization and he disagrees with virtually everything with what Steve Ballmer says. Like, it's a
Seems
recurring carousel. James Harden he might be the most toxic player in NBA history, and that is really saying something.
Yeah. Even more than Harden, and I mean not Harden, even more than Kyrie, more than Durant. I mean,
Please,
this goes
please.
way beyond that.
I
Yeah.
think Kyrie's a saint compared to
Oh yeah, because at
compared to
least like
Harden.
when he plays, like there's no
Well,
drama
okay,
with Harden. Like
okay, well,
sometimes he doesn't even want to play. Like
maybe saint
it's a
isn't
whole
the
mess.
right thing. Maybe saint isn't the thing to say with all the things Kyrie said.
Right.
It's like, but in terms of like, I mean, and let's not forget like, the thing with Kyrie where it's like he couldn't. What was it? He couldn't play like the team's road games, or he couldn't play the team's home games 2 years ago.
Road games because of
Road games.
no home games because
Yeah.
of the vaccine. Yeah.
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 So
So
of course that right there created a locker room divide, but it's like,
Right.
but I mean, of course, Kyrie's burned bridges in Cleveland, Boston, Brooklyn,
Yeah.
and
everywhere else you can think of.
and I predict soon to be Dallas. How long
We'll
it'll
see,
take, I don't
probably.
know. But James Harden has burned a bridge. I wouldn't really say he burned a bridge in Oklahoma City because Sam Presti wasn't willing to go above the luxury tax, and Harden did make the sacrifice to come off the bench when
Sure.
KD, Westbrook, and Ibaka were playing. So I'll give Harden a pass there. But
Yeah.
But after
he's been toxic with Houston. He's been toxic with Brooklyn. He's been toxic with Philadelphia. And he will definitely be toxic with Los Angeles. So
yeah.
So we'll see.
So I would
Yeah.
get in this case between the battle of the two malcontents, Harden wins, and just like how he prefers, 1-on-1.
Yeah.
I
Right.
saw.
And then
So,
PJ Tucker's also going in that deal too.
Yeah.
LA joining Harden, so it's an interesting piece. They also
So let's talk
trade away.
Yeah. So I think that that's a big trade. I mean, like the Clippers, like they're like, I don't know. They'll see. Ty Lue, everybody knows what he's done before. He's a good coach. He won with that the Cleveland back in 2016 over one of the greatest teams of all time. So I'm excited for him. I think his first few years in LA have been kind of underwhelming compared to the amount of talent. But I think if they're, I mean, like Kawhi was injured for that playoff run last year, that very, very brief playoff run. So I think,
Can we even call it a playoff run?
We can call it a playoff run. Agreed. I will, it's just like there's a problem like when you try and build, a super team, but have too many superstars on the team. And, I think this has the potential for one of those situations here. I mean, like Harden is a diva. Russell, he seems like a good guy. He's trying to get his career back on track. He took like a bajillion-dollar pay cut to stay in LA. You still have Kawhi Leonard, and now you're getting, PJ Tucker as well, who's a good player. I mean, like he's not like he's not elite by any means, but he's a good player. So, you have to somehow scheme all these guys. I mean, I think Ty Lue is the guy for the job. I'm just, the chemistry, it's you're not going to see it in November. You're not going to see it in December either. It might take January or February for all of those, players to come together and, play good, consistent basketball. And, the Clippers, they're, they haven't had that, I mean, like, for whatever reason, but if they want to make a deep playoff run, this is the time. I'm not sure they will, especially with just how good the West is.
If they're all on the court like at the same time, then maybe. But like I just don't have
If they're all on the court, on the court at the same time, they're losing because there's only one basketball.
That too. Yeah.
A
lot of things to overcome here. So yeah. Anyway,
well, speaking of overcoming, Max Scherzer and Adolis Garcia are out for the rest of the World Series.
And the Diamondbacks are losing by like 10 right now. Last
10-1.
And the Diamondbacks are getting murdered right now, 10-1 in Game 4. Corey Seager has been balling. Marcus Semien has come alive. And Andrew Heaney has been absolutely dealing for the Rangers. Of course, he's not pitching right now as I'm talking. It's the bottom of the 7th. Bradford's on, but it doesn't matter. I guess now we have to see what Game 5 looks forward to, but it's not looking
Yeah.
that great for Arizona.
Yeah. And we'll come back with some more baseball, some college football rankings, and the NFL recap. So this has been part 1 of the next episode of Sports Vibe, and we'll see you on the flip side.